What can one man do when the world is full of big companies and strong competitors? When people say his ideas are too small, too simple, or impossible to work, some give up, but others, they keep believing and keep trying. This is the story of a man who started with little, no fancy tools, no big money, just hard work and a big dream. His name was Kiichiro Toyota. He wanted to build cars that could change the world. Welcome to Read and Learn English. This story is not just to listen to. It is a chance to practice your English, reading, listening, and speaking. As you listen, I want you to read the words on the screen. Look at each sentence carefully. See the new words. Learn how sentences are made. After I say each sentence, please repeat after me. Speaking is very important. It helps your mouth, ears, and brain work together. This video will help you improve your listening skills. It will help you read better and understand more English. And it will help you speak with confidence. So, take a deep breath. Relax. Open your eyes and ears. Get ready to read, listen, and speak. Because sometimes, one story can teach you more than just words. It can teach you courage, hope, and hard work. Are you ready? Let's begin. Chapter 1. A Boy with a Wooden Loom. In a quiet village in Japan many years ago, a young boy walked beside the rice fields every day. His name was Sakichi Toyota. Life was simple in his village. People worked hard from sunrise to sunset. They grew rice, raised animals, and made cloth by hand. Sakichi's family was poor, like many others, but they were full of love and care. He lived with his parents and watched them struggle every day to earn a living. One of the most painful sights for Sakichi was watching his mother weave cloth. She sat for hours on a wooden loom, using her hands and feet to move the threads back and forth. The machine made loud, tiring sounds. Sometimes the threads would break, and she had to start again. Her back hurt. Her hands were sore. But she never complained. She worked with quiet strength, doing her best to support the family. Sakichi was just a boy, but he noticed everything. He saw the sweat on his mother's face. He heard the creak of the loom every night. He felt the pain she never spoke about, and deep in his heart, he made a silent promise. One day, I will make this easier for her. At school, Sakichi wasn't the best student. He didn't care much for books or writing, but he loved tools. He loved wood, wheels, and little machines. His eyes lit up when he saw how things worked. Instead of playing with toys, he would sit and watch carpenters build or farmers fix carts. He believed machines could make life better for people like his mother. One day, after watching his mother struggle with her loom again, Sakichi had an idea. What if I build a new kind of loom? He thought. A loom that could stop by itself when something went wrong. A loom that would make weaving faster and easier. At that time, he had no money, no teacher, and no factory. All he had was a dream and 2 hands. He began collecting pieces of wood. He worked in secret in a small shed behind his house. Every free moment he carved, measured, and tested. Sometimes the parts didn't fit. Sometimes they broke. But Sakichi never gave up. He tried again and again. People laughed at him. They said, "He's just a boy from a farming village. What does he know about machines?" But Sakichi didn't listen. He believed in his dream. Months passed. Then one day he finished his first invention, a wooden hand loom made with simple tools and pure determination. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. When his mother used it, her face lit up with surprise. "It's lighter," she said. "It's easier to use." For the first time, she could work faster, with less pain. Sakichi smiled, knowing that his dream was real. He had helped her, not with money but with a machine from his heart. That small wooden loom was only the beginning. Sakichi's hands had touched wood, but his mind was now full of metal and motion. He started studying everything he could about mechanics. He traveled to other towns to see how machines were built. He even visited Tokyo, where factories were beginning to grow. Every machine he saw made his ideas stronger. He kept thinking, if machines can help big businesses, why can't they help normal people too? People began to notice Sakichi's work. Some called him the Thomas Edison of Japan, but he didn't care about fame. He still remembered his mother's tired hands and the creaking sound of the old loom. That sound stayed with him forever. It reminded him why he started. In 1890, he built a new kind of automatic loom. This loom could stop by itself if a thread broke. It saved cloth, time, and energy. It was a simple idea, but it changed everything. His invention didn't just help his mother, it helped many weavers across Japan. Later, his looms were sold outside the country. Big companies noticed his talent. He had turned a small village idea into a national invention. But Sakichi never became proud or arrogant. He remained humble and quiet. He often said, "Open the window. It's a big world out there." To him, machines were not about money. They were about people, about solving problems, about lifting pain from the hands of those who work hard in silence. His love for invention never stopped. Even when he became older, Sakichi kept dreaming, building, and improving. But the greatest gift he gave to Japan was not just his machines, it was his spirit of creation. He inspired a generation of inventors, including his own son, Kiichiro Toyota, who would later dream of something even bigger, building cars. But that is a story for another day. For now, remember the boy from the quiet village, the boy who watched his mother work, the boy who built a wooden loom with his own hands, the boy whose dream made life better for many. His name was Sakichi Toyota, and this was just the beginning. Chapter 2. The Invention That Changed Everything. Many years had passed since Sakichi Toyota built his first wooden loom. He was no longer just a boy with a dream. People now called him an inventor, a thinker, and even a genius. But Sakichi never forgot why he started. He wanted to make life better for ordinary people, like his mother. And he believed machines could do that, if designed with love and care. By the early 1920s, the world around him was changing fast. Japan was growing, and factories were rising in big cities. But many small weavers were still struggling. They worked long hours, and their looms often wasted cloth because of broken threads or human errors. Sakichi wanted to solve this. He had a new idea, one that could save time, cloth, and energy. But it was not going to be easy. He spent many nights working in silence. His hands were older now, but his heart was still full of fire. He studied looms from around the world. He tested every part, wooden beams, gears, pulleys, and threads. Day after day, failure after failure, he kept going. People thought he was wasting his time, but Sakichi had always been patient. He believed that real change takes time. Then, in 1924, everything changed. Sakichi finished building his greatest invention, the Toyota automatic loom Type G. It was not just better, it was revolutionary. This loom could stop by itself when a thread broke or when the cloth was finished. That meant no more wasted thread, no more ruined fabric, no more extra work. For the first time, a loom had a kind of intelligence, and it wasn't powered by electricity. It used smart, simple mechanics. People were amazed. Workers could now run multiple looms at once because each one could stop automatically if something went wrong. Weaving became faster, safer, and smarter. Small weavers could now compete with big factories, and Sakichi had once again done what many thought was impossible. Word of the invention spread quickly, not just in Japan, but across the world. In England, one of the largest textile companies, Platt Brothers and Company, heard about the machine. They were based in Manchester, the heart of Britain's textile industry. British engineers came to Japan to study the loom. They tested it. They watched it work, and they were impressed. This machine, made by a quiet man from Japan, was something new and powerful. Soon, Platt Brothers made an offer. They wanted to buy the patent rights to the automatic loom. The deal was for £100,000, which would be more than $1 million today. It was one of the biggest technology deals of its time. Sakichi said yes, not because he wanted to be rich, but because he wanted the invention to reach the world. That money changed the Toyota family forever. But Sakichi didn't spend it on himself. Instead, he gave the money to someone he believed in deeply, his son, Kiichiro. Kiichiro was different from his father. He was more interested in machines that moved, cars. In the 1920s, cars were still rare in Japan. Most people had never even ridden in one. They used bicycles, rickshaws, or walked. But Kiichiro had traveled to Europe and America. He had seen the roads filled with automobiles. He knew that one day cars would change Japan too. He told his father about his dream. "I want to build cars here in Japan. Our own cars, not foreign ones." Sakichi looked at him and smiled. He had once dreamed of building a loom for his mother. Now his son dreamed of building cars for the country. He understood the feeling. He gave the money from the loom patent to Kiichiro, not as a gift, but as a seed. "Go build something," Sakichi said. "Just don't give up." That money became the first step in something far bigger than either of them could imagine, because from that moment on, the Toyota family was no longer just about weaving. It was about moving forward. The automatic loom didn't just change the weaving world. It planted the seeds for a car company that would one day be called Toyota. Looking back, that loom did more than stop when a thread broke. It started something else, a chain of dreams passed from father to son, powered by faith, hard work, and the desire to improve life for others. And so, what began as a simple wooden machine in a village now stood at the edge of something much greater. The world was about to meet a company that would build more than cloth. It would build cars, hope, and a future. But for now, the man who once watched his mother suffer at the loom had finally changed her world and was ready to help his son change the world beyond. Chapter 3. A New Road Begins. The year was 1929, and Japan was still a country of narrow streets, bicycles, and slow trains. Cars were a rare sight. Only the rich could afford them, and almost all of them were imported from the West, big, shiny machines with loud engines and foreign names. Most Japanese people had never sat in a car, let alone driven one. But in the heart of Tokyo, one man was already dreaming of a different future. His name was Kiichiro Toyoda, the son of inventor Sakichi Toyoda. While his father had changed the world of weaving, Kiichiro's eyes were on something faster, louder, and much more daring: automobiles. To most people around him, cars were too big a dream. Japan didn't have the money, the machines, or the technology to build them. But Kiichiro believed Japan could and must create its own path. To understand how cars were made, Kiichiro decided to travel far from home. With a notebook in his hand and curiosity in his eyes, he went to Europe and then to the United States. It was his first time seeing the world beyond Japan, and what he saw changed him forever. In America, he visited Detroit, the home of big car companies like Ford and General Motors. There, he saw long assembly lines with workers building cars step by step. Machines moved in perfect rhythm. Factories produced thousands of vehicles each day. It was fast. It was organized. It was powerful. To Kiichiro, it felt like watching the future. He studied every detail: how the engines were made, how workers passed tools, how metal was shaped, and how cars were tested. He talked to engineers. He walked through noisy factories. And as he watched the machines roll off the line, he kept thinking, if America can do this, why not Japan? In Europe, he saw a different side of car making: more craftsmanship, more design, and careful attention to every part. He combined everything he learned, thinking deeply about how Japan could build cars in its own way: strong, simple, and reliable. When Kiichiro returned home, he wasn't just inspired, he was determined. He looked at his family's weaving business and made a bold decision. We must go beyond looms, he told his relatives. Japan must build its own cars. At first, many people didn't agree. They said the idea was too risky. Cars were expensive, factories were hard to build, there were no trained workers, and besides, the Toyota company was known for looms, not engines. Why change a successful business? But Kiichiro remembered the lessons from his father. He knew that success came from courage, not comfort. Just like his father had once said, "Open the window." It's a big world out there. And now, Kiichiro was ready to open that window even wider. In the early 1930s, he started building small engines in secret. With a few loyal engineers and workers, he experimented in dusty rooms behind the loom factory. They had no manuals, no high-tech machines, just blueprints, broken parts, and a lot of hope. The engines often failed. Smoke filled the room. But no one gave up. Slowly, step by step, they moved forward. In 1935, they built their first complete passenger car, the Model A1. It looked simply, but it worked. The car could drive on Japan's rough roads and steep hills. Kiichiro took his team out for a test drive, and people in the village stopped and stared. A Japanese-made car. Unbelievable. Then came trucks for farmers and small businesses. People began to notice. Orders came in. It wasn't easy, but something special was happening. Finally, in 1937, Kiichiro took the biggest step of all. He separated the car division from the loom business and formed a new company, Toyota Motor Corporation. He changed the spelling from Toyota to Toyota because it was easier to write in Japanese script and sounded smoother. But the spirit of the name remained. It was still about building machines that helped people live better lives. Toyota Motor Corporation started small, with only a few hundred workers. They didn't have the huge factories of Ford or the fame of European brands. But they had something more powerful, a clear dream, and the courage to chase it. Kiichiro didn't just want to make cars, he wanted to build Japan's future. At a time when the country still depended on foreign products, he believed Japan could stand on its own wheels. His dream wasn't just about engines and steel, it was about independence, pride, and progress. That same year, as war clouds grew in the world, Toyota began producing its first real passenger car, the Model AA. It looked like an American car, but was built entirely in Japan. For the first time, Japanese people had a car that came from their own hands. From a dusty back room to a full factory floor, from a dream in Detroit to a name on a new company sign, Kiichiro Toyota had done it. A new road had begun. But the journey was far from over. Ahead lay great challenges, including war, loss, and near failure. Still, in this chapter of history, one thing was clear. The boy who once watched his father build looms was now driving Japan into a new era, one car at a time. Chapter 4: The War and the Struggle. The year was 1937. Toyota Motor Corporation had just been born, full of hope and fresh ideas. Kiichiro Toyota and his team were building cars in Japan, a country where few people believed it was possible. Their early models, like the Model AA, had shown the world that Japanese cars were real. But just as the road began to open, dark clouds gathered over the world. In 1939, World War II began. At first, it was far from Japan. But soon, the war reached Asia, and everything changed. The Japanese government told factories across the country to stop making normal goods. Japan needed machines for war. Factories like Toyota were no longer allowed to make cars for families or trucks for farmers. Instead, they had to build military trucks and other vehicles for the army. Kiichiro didn't want to make machines for war, but he had no choice. It was a matter of survival. During the war, Toyota made trucks for soldiers. These trucks had no luxury. They were simple, tough, and sometimes even had only one headlight or one brake to save materials. Steel and rubber were hard to find. Workers had to reuse old parts. Many employees were sent to war or worked long hours in difficult conditions. Factories were always worried about air raids. Japan had little fuel, little food, and even less hope. In 1945, the war ended, but not peacefully. Japan had suffered greatly. Cities like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were destroyed. Tokyo was full of ashes. The country's economy was broken. People were hungry and scared. And in the middle of this ruined nation, Toyota stood quietly, still alive, but barely breathing. Kiichiro looked around at his company. The machines were old. The buildings were damaged. Workers were tired and confused. The country didn't need military trucks anymore. But most people still couldn't afford cars. Who would buy them? How would they even be made? Between 1945 and 1950, Toyota tried to restart its car business. They repaired old machines and built a few vehicles. But sales were low. Many people didn't even have homes, let alone money for a car. On some days, there were no orders at all. Factory lights stayed off. Workers sat with nothing to do. The company was running out of cash. Then, in 1950, the worst happened. Toyota could no longer pay salaries. A deep crisis hit. The workers who had stood by the company during the war were angry and scared. They had families to feed. They needed answers. For the first time, Toyota faced a labor strike. Workers stopped their machines and demanded change. Tension filled the air. The company was on the edge of collapse. Some leaders said it was time to shut everything down. Kiichiro Toyota watched this painful moment with a heavy heart. He had dreamed of building cars, not facing strikes. He had wanted to create a future for Japan, not break the spirits of workers. But now, he was being forced to make an impossible choice. To save the company, Kiichiro made a brave and heartbreaking decision. He would step down as president. He told his team that he loved Toyota deeply, but he wanted it to survive, even if it meant leaving it behind. With tears in his eyes, he said goodbye to the company he helped build. But even in his silence, Kiichiro remained hopeful. He believed that Toyota would rise again. He believed that the Japanese people were strong enough to rebuild. He believed that cars would once again roll off the lines, not for war, but for peace, families, and the future. And he was right. That same year as the Korean War began, the U.S. military ordered hundreds of trucks from Toyota to support their work in Asia. This surprise contract gave Toyota enough money to restart operations. Workers returned. Machines roared again. The wheels of hope began to turn once more. Kiichiro Toyota did not live to see the full return of Toyota's success. He passed away in 1952 at just 57 years old. But his vision and courage remained alive in the company he left behind. From war and ruins, through strikes and near bankruptcy, Toyota had survived the storm. The struggle was real. The pain was deep. But so was the hope. And soon a new chapter would begin, one where Toyota would no longer be just a company from Japan, but a name known across the world. Chapter 5. A system that changed manufacturing. In the early 1950s, Japan was rebuilding. The war was over, but the country still had scars, broken cities, lost jobs, and families trying to start again. Many companies had failed. Factories were silent. But one small car company, Toyota, was still standing, even after coming close to closing forever. Toyota had survived the war, the strike, and near bankruptcy. Now, it had a second chance. But to grow stronger, it couldn't go back to the old ways. It needed something new, something better. Toyota didn't have as much money or as many resources as the big American car companies like Ford or General Motors. So it had to think smarter. That's when a quiet revolution began, not in the streets, but inside the factory walls. One of the key leaders of this change was a man named Taiichi Ono, an engineer at Toyota. He had been watching how things worked for years. He noticed that Japanese factories were often slow and wasteful. Machines waited. Workers waited. Parts piled up unused. There was a lot of movement, but not much progress. Ono thought, what if we could remove the waste? What if we only make what's needed, when it's needed? That simple question led to one of the most powerful ideas in business history. In the 1950s, Toyota began building a new system, a way of making cars that focused on efficiency, quality, and zero waste. They called it the Toyota Production System, or TPS. This system was different from the traditional way of making things. Instead of producing huge numbers of cars and storing them in warehouses, Toyota made only what customers needed, and only when they needed it. This idea became known as just-in-time. With just-in-time, Every part arrived at the right place, at the right time. There were no extra parts, no wasted space, and no waiting. If a factory needed 10 steering wheels, they got 10, not 20 or 50. This helped save money, space, and time. But TPS was not just about timing, it was also about people. Another important idea in the system was Kaizen, which means continuous improvement in Japanese. Kaizen taught everyone, from top managers to factory workers, that they could improve the way things were done. Even small ideas were welcome. A better way to place tools, a faster way to check parts, a safer way to move materials. Each improvement made the whole system better. At Toyota, workers were not just told what to do. They were asked how things could be done better. They were respected, trusted, and encouraged to speak up. If a worker saw a problem on the line, they had the power to stop the whole system to fix it. This was called the andon cord, a small string next to the line that any worker could pull in case of trouble. Instead of hiding mistakes, Toyota fixed them right away. This culture of teamwork, respect, and daily improvement became the heart of TPS. Step by step, the system worked. Toyota's cars became better, faster, and more reliable. Even though the company was small compared to American giants, it started gaining attention. People noticed that Toyota cars lasted longer, needed fewer repairs, and used less fuel. In the beginning, other companies didn't understand what Toyota was doing. Some laughed at the idea of just-in-time. It's too risky, they said. What if a part doesn't arrive on time? But Toyota proved them wrong. By trusting their workers, respecting their process, and always improving, they built something stronger than machines. They built a mindset. In the years that followed, the Toyota production system became famous around the world. Business schools began to study it. Companies in many industries, from healthcare to electronics, tried to copy it. The words just-in-time and Kaizen became global business terms. What made TPS so powerful wasn't just its rules, it was its spirit. It believed in doing more with less. It believed that every person matters, and every small change counts. It showed the world that even a company from a small country, with few resources, could lead the way, if it worked smarter and cared deeply. For Toyota, this system was not just about making cars. It was about building a better future for workers, customers, and society. By the end of the 1950s, Toyota was no longer a company trying to survive. It was a company with a mission, a system, and a future. The cars rolled out quietly, one by one, but behind every wheel was a story of human effort, smart thinking, and a belief that even the smallest idea could lead to something big. And as the world began to change once again, Toyota was ready, not just with machines, but with a way of thinking that would guide it through every turn of the road. Chapter 6: Winning the World's Trust. By the late 1950s, Japan was waking up. After years of war and hardship, its cities were rebuilding, its people were working hard, full of quiet determination, and one company, Toyota, was slowly becoming a symbol of that spirit. With the Toyota production system in place, Toyota was making better cars, faster and smarter. But there was still one mountain left to climb: the world. Inside Toyota's small offices in Japan, leaders began to ask a bold question. Can we sell our cars outside of Japan? Can the world trust a Japanese brand? At the time, the idea seemed risky. Western car makers were big, famous, and powerful. Brands like Ford, Chevrolet, and Volkswagen ruled the roads. Japanese cars were unknown, and to many, unproven. Still, Toyota believed in one thing: quality speaks louder than words. In 1957, Toyota made its first move. It shipped a small number of its new sedan, the Toyota Crown, to the United States. It was the first Japanese car ever officially exported to the U.S. market. It was a moment filled with hope and fear. The Toyota Crown looked simple and small compared to big American cars. It had a tiny engine. It wasn't fast, and it struggled on America's wide highways. American drivers, used to speed and size, didn't know what to make of it. Some laughed, some doubted, some said, "This little car will never last here." At first, the critics were right. The early models of the Crown had trouble with long-distance driving. Some broke down, others couldn't keep up with traffic. Sales were low, American car buyers weren't ready, dealerships weren't sure if it was worth the risk. But Toyota didn't give up. Instead of walking away, Toyota listened. They studied American roads, American drivers, and American needs. They improved their engines. They strengthened the body. They tested their cars under tough conditions. Every problem became a lesson. Every mistake became a reason to improve. In the 1960s, Toyota introduced new models, better designed, more reliable, and more comfortable. Cars like the Toyota Corolla entered the market, and this time, something started to change. American families, looking for fuel-efficient, low-cost cars, gave Toyota a second chance. They discovered something surprising. These small Japanese cars were built to last. Toyota didn't use flashy ads or celebrity faces. Instead, their cars did the talking. One by one, happy customers began to tell their friends, "I've had this car for years, and it still runs like new." While big American cars used more fuel, Toyota's cars were affordable, fuel-efficient, and easy to maintain. Mechanics noticed they didn't break down often. Drivers loved how simple they were to use. Slowly, the doubts began to disappear. Respect began to grow. In the 1970s, something unexpected helped Toyota even more. The world faced a major oil crisis. Gas prices went up. People searched for cars that used less fuel. Suddenly, Toyota's small, efficient cars were exactly what people needed. Sales rose quickly. The Toyota Corolla, introduced in the late 1960s, became a favorite. It was small but strong, simple but dependable. By the time the 1980s arrived, Toyota had done what once seemed impossible. It was no longer just a Japanese company. It was a global brand, trusted by millions, loved for its quality, and respected for its values. In America, people no longer laughed at Japanese cars. They praised them. Business magazines called Toyota a quiet giant. Families bought Toyotas with pride. Dealerships lined up to sell their cars. Toyota began building factories inside the U.S., creating jobs and winning hearts. What made Toyota different wasn't just its cars, it was its attitude. While some companies focused on making as many cars as possible, Toyota focused on making every car better than the last. While others chased profits, Toyota chased excellence. While others ignored problems, Toyota asked every worker, every day, "How can we improve?" This mindset built trust, not in a month, not in a year, but over time, with care, effort, and quiet strength. By the end of the 1980s, Toyota was one of the most trusted brands in America. It had climbed the mountain, not with loud words, but with soft steps, not with force, but with focus. From the tiny Toyota Crown to the world-famous Corolla, the journey was long, but full of meaning. And as the company looked forward to a new century, one thing was clear. Toyota had not only won the world's trust, it had earned it. Chapter 7. Corolla, the people's car. In the mid-1960s, Japan was changing. Cities were growing. Young families were starting new lives. People were moving from bicycles and buses to their very first cars. But cars were still expensive for many, and most models were either too big, too costly, or too difficult to maintain. Toyota saw this need and asked a simple but powerful question. What if we build a car for the people? That question gave birth to a car that would one day touch the lives of millions. In 1966, Toyota launched a small, simple, and affordable car. They named it the Toyota Corolla. The name Corolla means the petals of a flower. Toyota chose this name with care. They wanted the car to feel fresh, beautiful, and full of life, just like a blooming flower. But under its soft name was a strong and smart design. The Corolla was compact, but had enough room for a family. It was light, but solid. It didn't have luxury features, but it had something more important: dependability. At first, the Corolla was just one of many small cars on the market, but soon, people began to notice something special. The car was easy to drive, easy to fix, and easy to love. It didn't try to impress with speed or style. It impressed with consistency. It did its job, day after day, year after year. In Japan, the Corolla became the car of young couples, students, teachers, and shop owners. In the United States, it was the first car for many teenagers. In Europe, it became the favorite for commuters. It was the kind of car you could trust in the rain, in the snow, or in traffic. But what truly made the Corolla stand out was how long it lasted. Drivers were surprised. Even after 5 years, 10 years, sometimes even 15 years, the car still ran well. The engine kept going, the wheels kept turning, it needed little maintenance, and it rarely broke down. For families who couldn't afford repairs or replacements, this was more than helpful. It was life-changing. Toyota kept improving the Corolla year after year. New models came out with better fuel efficiency, stronger safety features, and cleaner engines. But the heart of the Corolla stayed the same: a car built to serve everyday people. As Toyota expanded into more countries, so did the Corolla. It was sold in over 150 nations and built in factories all around the world. It crossed borders, languages, and cultures. Whether in Tokyo or Texas, Nairobi or New Delhi, the Corolla earned a simple reputation: it just works. By the 1980s and 1990s, the Corolla was everywhere. Taxi drivers loved it. Teachers trusted it. Parents bought it for their children. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't loud. But it became a quiet champion in the lives of people across the globe. And then, in the 2000s, something incredible happened. Toyota looked at the numbers and realized that the Corolla had passed a major milestone. It had become one of the best-selling cars in human history. By the year 2021, over 50 million Toyota Corollas had been sold worldwide. That number kept rising, day after day, year after year. Think about that: 50 million. That's more than the population of many countries. That means there are millions of stories, millions of families, workers, travelers, and dreamers who chose the Corolla as part of their journey. What made the Corolla so successful? It wasn't the most powerful car, it wasn't the most beautiful car, but it was the most dependable. Toyota focused not on making the fastest car, but on making the most reliable companion on the road. Even today, the Corolla continues to evolve. It now comes in hybrid versions, using both gasoline and electric power. It includes modern safety systems like automatic braking, lane keeping, and smart cruise control. It looks sharper, drives smoother, and is more efficient than ever, but it still carries the same spirit. It is still the car that listens quietly, that carries your family to school, to work, and back home, that takes you on long drives and quiet nights. It may not be the center of attention, but it is always there, ready to go. The Corolla's story is not just about numbers or sales, it's about trust. It's about Toyota's belief that a good car doesn't need to shout, it just needs to show up every single day. So, when people say Toyota, many still think first of the Corolla. A small car, born from a simple dream, a flower that quietly bloomed and kept blooming all over the world. Chapter 8: Toyota Goes Green. By the 1990s, Toyota was a well-known name across the world. It had earned trust through its quality, reliability, and smart production methods. Cars like the Corolla and Camry were everywhere, from city streets to country roads. But while Toyota had grown strong in the world of cars, the world itself was beginning to change. People were starting to worry about the environment. Cities were full of smoke. The air was becoming harder to breathe. Scientists warned that pollution from cars and factories was warming the planet. Around the globe, people began asking the same question: how can we drive without damaging the earth? Toyota didn't wait for others to find the answer. It looked ahead, and once again, decided to lead. Deep inside Toyota's research center, engineers were working on a new kind of car, a car that didn't just run on gasoline, but also used electricity, a car that was quiet, clean, and kind to the planet. It was a risky idea. No company had ever made such a car for the public before. The technology was complicated. The costs were high. Many thought it wouldn't work. But Toyota believed in the future. In 1997, after years of hard work, Toyota introduced the world to a new car, a car unlike any before. It was called the Toyota Prius. The name Prius means to go before in Latin, and that's exactly what it did. The Prius was the first mass-produced hybrid car in history. It used both a gasoline engine and an electric motor. When you drove slowly, it used electricity. When you needed more power, the gasoline engine helped. It saved fuel. It produced less pollution. And it worked smoothly, without needing to plug in. At first, many people were unsure. The Prius looked different. It sounded different. Some drivers didn't understand how it worked. But then, something surprising happened. Eco-conscious people started paying attention. They saw the Prius as a symbol of a better world. Soon, celebrities in Hollywood began driving it. Movie stars, musicians, and politicians were seen arriving at events in a quiet, humble Prius, not in luxury sports cars. They were making a statement: I care about the planet. And others began to follow. By the early 2000s, the Prius had become more than a car. It had become a movement. Environmental groups praised it. Governments offered tax benefits to people who bought hybrids. Toyota kept improving the design, making it more stylish, more powerful, and even more efficient. Each new version used less fuel and produced fewer emissions. Drivers loved it. They didn't have to visit the gas station as often. They felt good knowing they were doing something to help the earth. For many, it was the first time they felt driving could be responsible. Toyota's bold step had paid off. Other car companies rushed to catch up, but Toyota stayed ahead. It invested in research, built better batteries, and trained thousands of workers in hybrid technology. The company didn't just build green cars, it built a green reputation. By 2010, Toyota had sold over 2 million hybrid vehicles. That number kept growing. The Prius led the way, but other Toyota models followed: Camry Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, Highlander Hybrid, and more. Toyota had become the global leader in eco-friendly transportation. But Toyota didn't stop there. The company looked even further into the future. What if cars could run on hydrogen? What if they could create zero emissions and only release water vapor? In 2014, Toyota launched the Mirai, one of the first hydrogen fuel cell vehicles available to the public. Mirai means future in Japanese, and again, Toyota was pointing the way forward. At the same time, Toyota began working on electric vehicles, EVs, building new models to meet modern needs. It invested in better batteries, smarter energy systems, and greener factories. The company promised that by 2050, it would become carbon neutral, meaning all of its cars and buildings would create no harm to the planet. Through all these changes, one thing stayed the same: Toyota's deep belief that technology should help people and protect the earth. The company never shouted loudly. It simply built cars that made a difference. The road was not always easy. Some people said hybrids would not last. Others said Toyota was too slow to go fully electric. But Toyota kept listening, learning, and improving, just like it had done since the beginning. Today, the Prius remains a symbol, not just of fuel savings, but of responsible progress. It reminds us that one idea, one car, and one company can start a wave of change. From the streets of Tokyo to the hills of California, the message is clear. Driving can be smarter, driving can be cleaner, driving can be kind. And Toyota, once a small family business from a quiet village, is still helping to lead the way. Chapter 9: The Challenge of Electric Cars. As the world entered the 2010s, a big shift began. People everywhere were starting to talk about electric vehicles, EVs. Countries made new promises to cut pollution. Cities looked for cleaner ways to travel. Drivers wanted cars that didn't need gasoline at all. A quiet revolution was growing, one powered not by oil, but by electricity. Companies from Silicon Valley to Germany started building cars that ran fully on batteries. They promised zero emissions, no fuel stops, and a cleaner future. And many people asked, what will Toyota do? Toyota was already known as a green leader. It had started the hybrid revolution with the Prius. It had introduced the Mirai, a car powered by hydrogen, which gave off only water vapor. By 2010, millions of Toyota hybrid cars were on the road, saving fuel and helping the planet. But now, something new was happening, and it was faster than many expected. Fully electric vehicles, cars with no gasoline engine at all, were becoming popular. Some car companies began producing EVs quickly, building large electric batteries and flashy models. Some tech companies joined in, creating cars with self-driving features and online updates. The world's media started to cheer for these changes. News articles began asking, "Is this the end of gasoline?" and "Will Toyota fall behind?" To many people's surprises, Toyota was cautious. While others rushed into electric cars, Toyota took its time. It continued to focus on hybrids, like the Camry Hybrid and RAV4 Hybrid. It also invested more in hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, believing they were another important way to fight pollution. Toyota said, "We are not in a race. We are building for the future." But not everyone agreed. Critics and investors started asking hard questions. They said Toyota was moving too slowly in the EV race. They pointed to new electric car brands selling hundreds of thousands of vehicles each year. They worried Toyota might lose its place as a global leader. Inside Toyota, the pressure was real, but the company stood by its decision. Toyota explained that the world is big and complicated. Not every country has charging stations for EVs, not every driver can afford a fully electric car, and not every battery is clean. Some require rare materials that are hard to mine and recycle. Toyota believed in finding long-term solutions, not just short-term headlines. Toyota's engineers had learned a lesson from history. Rushing isn't always winning. They remembered the early days of the Prius, how it took years of quiet work to get it right. So they focused on research, development, and global planning. While other companies made just a few electric models, Toyota was thinking about something bigger. How can we build EVs for the whole world, not just for wealthy buyers in big cities, but for everyday people in all kinds of places? They invested billions of dollars in new battery technology. They studied solid-state batteries, which could be lighter, safer, and charge faster than regular ones. They worked on making electric cars more affordable, without losing Toyota's famous quality. And they built plans to produce EVs at scale, in factories across Asia, Europe, and America. At the same time, Toyota continued to improve its hybrids. These cars still made a big difference, especially in countries where charging an EV was not easy. A hybrid could reduce fuel use by half or more, and it worked well anywhere. Toyota believed no single solution fits every driver, and that a mix of choices, EVs, hybrids, and hydrogen, was the smartest path forward. Slowly, their efforts began to show. In the early 2020s, Toyota introduced new, fully electric vehicles like the BZ4X, a modern SUV with long range, smart features, and zero emissions. The BZ stood for Beyond Zero, showing Toyota's vision of a world where cars leave no pollution at all. They also announced new platforms for EVs, meaning more models would follow: sedans, trucks, and compact cars, all designed to meet the needs of people around the world. The message was clear. Toyota was ready. Even though it had started later, Toyota was moving carefully and powerfully, just like it had done with the Prius many years ago. The critics began to soften. Some started to say, maybe Toyota was never behind. Maybe they were just thinking long-term. Industry experts realized that Toyota had been planning quietly, waiting for the right moment to deliver electric vehicles that were truly global, truly durable, and truly smart. More than anything, Toyota remained committed to one idea: serving people and protecting the planet. Their journey into electric cars was not about speed. It was about stability, quality, and trust. That's how Toyota had always worked. That's why families trusted their cars for decades. As Toyota entered the electric age, it did so with the same heart that started it all: a deep respect for people, a careful hand for progress, and a steady eye on the future. So, while others raced ahead, Toyota quietly prepared, and when it stepped forward, the world was ready to listen. Chapter 10. Today's Toyota, powering the future. The road to the future is never straight. It has turns, hills, and sometimes traffic, but Toyota has always moved with patience, wisdom, and vision. From wooden looms to world-famous cars, from simple hand tools to advanced factories, Toyota has grown through every season, slowly, steadily, and with purpose. And now, in the 2020s, the world is watching as Toyota drives boldly into a new age, the age of electric power. By this time, the need for cleaner transportation is greater than ever. Climate change is no longer a distant worry, it is a present challenge. Countries are setting new goals to reduce carbon emissions. Cities are planning for a future without gasoline cars. And people everywhere are asking, how will we travel in a way that protects our planet? Toyota, once seen as cautious in the electric vehicle (EV) race, is now moving with full force. In 2021, the company made a historic announcement. It introduced its BZ series, a new family of cars built to be fully electric from the very beginning. The letters BZ stand for Beyond Zero, a vision that looks past just zero emissions. Toyota wants to go beyond reducing pollution. It wants to create cars that improve lives, protect the planet, and inspire the next generation. The goal isn't just cleaner vehicles. The goal is a cleaner world. The first car in this new series was the BZ4X. It's a modern, all-electric SUV, designed for families, commuters, and adventure lovers. The BZ4X is silent when it drives, but strong on the road. It has a long battery range, a spacious interior, and smart features like touchscreen controls and driver assist systems. It's the kind of car that makes people say, "So this is the future." But the BZ4X is just the beginning. Toyota has announced plans to launch over a dozen EV models under the BZ series and beyond. There will be small cars for cities, large SUVs for families, and even electric trucks. Toyota wants to offer something for everyone, not just luxury buyers, but also everyday people. And the vision doesn't stop at making cars. Toyota is investing over $35 billion into electric vehicle development, including better batteries, smarter factories, and stronger charging networks. The company is building new battery plants in Japan and the US, training workers in EV technology, and working with governments to bring charging stations to more places. Toyota's goal is clear. By 2030, it wants to sell 5 million EVs every year. That number may sound big, but Toyota has never been afraid of big dreams. It once started with wooden looms. It once launched a hybrid car when no one believed it would work. And now, it is building an electric future, not just for itself, but for all of us. But even as it embraces EVs, Toyota hasn't forgotten its other green efforts. It continues to develop hydrogen fuel cell cars like the Mirai, which emit only water and can be refueled in minutes. It also makes hybrids and plug-in hybrids, giving drivers many choices based on their location, lifestyle, and budget. Why? Because Toyota understands that the world is not one size fits all. In some places, EV charging is easy. In others, it's still a challenge. Some people drive short distances every day. Others need cars for long highway trips. Toyota's approach is flexible, thoughtful, and global. It listens to people's real needs and builds accordingly. This deep respect for people, for quality, and for the planet is what makes Toyota different. While other companies race for headlines, Toyota builds for generations. And as it moves into the future, Toyota still holds tightly to the values that shaped its past: Kaizen, continuous improvement, respect for people, and a deep belief that every small step can lead to something great. Today, Toyota is more than a car company. It is a symbol of trust, a teacher of patience, a leader in innovation, and a quiet partner in the lives of millions around the world. The engines may be changing, the fuel may be different, but the heart remains the same. From a boy with a wooden loom to a company driving the future with electricity, this is Toyota, still learning, still improving, still moving forward. Chapter 11. Smart Cars and Clean Energy. The world is changing faster than ever before. New technology is all around us. Phones are smart, homes can talk to us, and now cars are becoming smarter too. In this new age, Toyota is not just building vehicles, it is helping build the future. For many years, Toyota focused on making cars that were strong, safe, and reliable. But now it is working on something even more exciting: cars that think, learn, and connect. These are not just machines. They are part of a bigger idea, a future where transportation, clean energy, and smart living all work together. One of the most important steps in this journey is Toyota's work on solid-state batteries. Most electric cars today use lithium-ion batteries. These are good, but they have limits. They take a long time to charge. They can get hot, and they wear out over time. Solid-state batteries are different. They use solid materials inside instead of liquid. That means they are smaller, lighter, safer, and can store more energy. Most important of all, they can charge much faster. Imagine filling your electric car in minutes instead of hours. Toyota believes this is the key to making electric cars better for everyone. Toyota's engineers have been working on solid-state batteries for years. The company is testing them carefully, making sure they are safe and ready. It plans to use them in future cars, and this could change the way the world drives. But while Toyota works on batteries, it is also looking at the bigger picture: mobility. That means not just cars, but all the ways people move: walking, biking, riding, or even flying in the future. One major area of research is autonomous vehicles, cars that can drive themselves. Toyota is developing smart cars that use cameras, sensors, and artificial intelligence to see the road, follow traffic rules, and avoid danger. These cars are still being tested, but they could one day help the elderly, reduce accidents, and make driving safer for everyone. And it's not just about one car or one driver. Toyota is building mobility platforms, systems that let many people share rides, connect to services, and move easily around cities. This includes smart buses, delivery robots, and ride-hailing systems. The goal is clear: to create a world where mobility is clean, easy, and available to all. But perhaps the boldest project of all is something very special, something Toyota calls Woven City. In 2020, Toyota announced that it would build a brand new city from the ground up. Not just a neighborhood, not just a test center, but a real living city of the future. Woven City is now being built at the base of Mount Fuji in Japan. It will be home to scientists, engineers, families, and researchers. The streets will be designed for autonomous cars, smart robots, and pedestrians. Buildings will be filled with smart systems. Everything will be powered by clean hydrogen energy. Inside this city, people will test new ideas every day, like smart homes that know when to turn off the lights, robots that help carry groceries, and cars that talk to each other to avoid accidents. It's called Woven City because Toyota believes that technology, people, and nature must be woven together, like threads in a strong and beautiful fabric. This is more than a dream. It is a living lab, a place where Toyota and its partners can try out real solutions to the world's problems, solutions for energy, for safety, for aging populations, for cleaner air and better living. Why is Toyota doing all this? Because it believes its job is bigger than selling cars. It believes in improving life, in using technology to make the world safer, cleaner, and kinder. That's what the Toyota spirit has always been about. From the first hand loom built by Sakichi Toyota, to hybrid cars that changed how we drive, to a city of the future powered by hydrogen. Toyota is still doing what it has always done best, looking ahead, solving problems, and never stopping. The car of tomorrow is not just a machine, it is smart, it is clean, and thanks to Toyota, it is already on the way. Chapter 12. Lessons from Toyota's Journey. Toyota's story is like a long road stretching through time, a road full of hills, valleys, and unexpected turns. It began humbly in a small farming village in Japan with a boy named Sakichi Toyota and his wooden loom. From that simple beginning, Toyota has grown into the largest car maker in the world, a company known everywhere for its quality, innovation, and care. But Toyota's journey was never easy. It was full of challenges. There were times when the future looked uncertain, when the company faced war, strikes, and near bankruptcy. There were moments when others doubted its vision and mocked its size. Yet, through every trial, Toyota kept moving forward, learning and growing. What can we learn from Toyota's incredible path? First, Toyota teaches us about innovation. From Sakichi's wooden loom to the world's first mass-produced hybrid car, the Prius, Toyota has always been willing to try new ideas. It was not afraid to invent and reinvent. Sometimes, that meant starting small and working quietly. Sometimes it meant dreaming big and leading the way. Second, Toyota shows the power of quality. It didn't race to make the most cars. Instead, it focused on making the best cars, cars that customers could trust, cars that would last. This focus on quality earned Toyota the respect of millions around the world. People bought Toyota cars not just because they looked good, but because they knew these cars would be dependable for years. Third, and perhaps most importantly, Toyota's success is built on patient growth. The company did not rush blindly. It planned carefully, improving step by step. From creating the Toyota production system, which changed manufacturing forever, to entering the electric vehicle market thoughtfully, Toyota always took the time to get things right. It understood that great things take time, but they last longer. Today, in 2024, Toyota remains a giant in the global car industry. It sells more vehicles than any other company. It leads in hybrids, hydrogen fuel cell cars, and is now pushing into electric vehicles with its BZ series. It is building smart cities like Woven City, showing that it cares not only about cars, but about the future of the planet and people's lives. The Toyota story reminds us that success is not just about speed or power. It is about vision, care, and courage to keep going when the road is hard. It is about trusting in your ideas and your people. And it is about believing that every small step forward can create a better tomorrow. So, whether you are learning English, building your own dreams, or simply looking for hope, remember this. From a boy with a wooden loom to a company powering the future, great things take time, but they last longer. Thank you for listening to the story of Kiichiro Toyota and the birth of Toyota. I hope you enjoyed the story and learned many new English words and sentences. Remember, practice is the key to success. Keep reading English every day. Keep listening to English stories like this one. And most important, keep speaking. If you want to speak well, you must say the words out loud. Repeat after me. Practice speaking with confidence. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Learning English takes time and patience. But every step you take brings you closer to your goal. Please write in the comments. Which part of the story did you like most? What new words did you learn today? If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to Read and Learn English. There are many more stories and lessons coming soon, all made to help you grow your English skills. Take care, keep learning, and remember, your English journey is a story you are writing every day. See you in the next video.